Across the board.
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 You're listening to Across the Board. Buckle up, because things are about to get interesting.
Anyway, all right. So what are we talking about today?
Talking about social media.
Social
and
media.
its effects on the world and everything around us.
The good, the bad, the ugly. So what social media do you use?
I use Instagram. I use TikTok. I use LinkedIn.
Is LinkedIn really social media?
I would say so. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn. I have a lot of connections on LinkedIn.
It's like professional social media.
Kind of. I think LinkedIn is mostly to tell people that you're doing really good at something.
I mean,
Kind of show off.
Yeah, but that's also Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, everything else.
Yeah, but I think LinkedIn is more, career set.
Just-
Look what I did today. Look what promotion I got. Oh, I'm celebrating 8 years at this company, whatever it is. Like, yay me.
So basically it's Facebook without the puppies.
Yeah, exactly.
Facebook without the puppies.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's funny how social media has definitely changed the world.
Absolutely.
I think it's especially profound in the last few years how much things have changed with social media. It's, you hear the crazy stories of like kids that get bullied online and all the crap that happens. Then at the same time, you hear like the positive stories of how somebody reconnected with like a family member or their long lost brother, or they got, help from thousands and thousands of people online and were able to rebuild their house after some kind of a disaster. So,
And there's a lot of people that are actually doing really good to others on social media, with donations and making these TikTok videos of people, giving and just changing someone's life. And it's, it could really be used in a positive way, but we also see a lot of the negative aspects of it where people, adults and children alike get bullied and put down. It really doesn't matter. So, if you're in some certain kind of narrative, you're treated a certain way on social media.
but I mean, isn't that kind of with everything though? Like, it's like you can build a park and there'll be a bunch of kids playing in the park and, getting physical exercise, but then you'll have
I wasn't getting
that-
much physical exercise, let me tell you.
Well, no, but like my point is like that's with anything, with any kind of like a setting, you'll have everybody that's going to use it for good and for the positive things that you can do with it. But then you're going to have a certain subset of the population that are just a bunch of scumbags and all they want to do is take advantage of either the fact that like, like in terms of social media, it's like the fact that they can hide behind a keyboard.
Absolutely.
And either demean people or be freaking scumbag fucking child predators and, things that they wouldn't normally be able to do with other people around.
Because people feel like words don't count sometimes and they feel kind of it's like a shadow for them. And they obviously wouldn't be doing these things in person, but they're behind a computer. So to them, it really doesn't matter. And words don't faze them very much. But I think it's the complete opposite. I think words do mean a lot more than what people say them to be. And I think they really affect people either negatively or positively.
Well, yeah,
for sure.
But not just that, though. It's like whether or not, it's not just like people being nice to each other or being mean to each other. It's also the fact that people feel like they can get away, just talking crap to people. Whereas back in the day before social media, it's like if you wanted to talk crap to somebody, you had to be face to face with them. And there was a 50% chance that you were going to get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
So it's like,
back in the day, for sure.
It's empowering a bunch of people that never had power,
Exactly.
essentially. Like people that never had, either power or just like even a platform. Like you have a bunch of people that were just never able to share their thoughts and opinions. And all of a sudden now they could put it on TikTok and
their voice is being heard.
3 million people watch.
in some way. And they feel empowered by that. Whether it's, put to good use or not.
But I mean, isn't it kind of crazy though that like, so like we saw it obviously recent events, right? Like the election and how I think, and I could be wrong, maybe I wasn't into social media as much, in like 2016, 2012, but we saw it ramp up in the 2020 elections, right? There was a bunch of information being thrown around on both sides. And this last one, it feels like it just went ballistic. Like presidential candidates, freaking Senate races, everything. Like all of a sudden, it was just in your face constantly. Like you could be somebody that never even watched political stuff on social media, but you're just getting thrown ads because all of a sudden they're spending so much more freaking money.
Well, you also
social media.
have to take into consideration what happened in 2020. We had COVID and we had all that time on our hands, and people got used to doing this and making money off of it. And it's kind of run rampant these past 4 to 5 years because of that. Because it's a whole new platform of, them saying what they need to say, making money off of it. And, whether it's whatever they deem it to be, whatever type of subject they want to talk about, it's kind of, free. Just go for it.
Well, yeah, but so also on top of that, though, like how do I put this? So it's not just, it's kind of strange because obviously social media freaking blew up, right? Like things like TikTok that were literally a bunch of kids dancing to random songs pre-COVID, all of a sudden it exploded. And literally everybody was on TikTok because it was like, well, we're stuck at home. We have nothing else to do, especially idiots like us that live in California and we're locked in our houses for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. We had nothing else to do. So what, like,
so we're going to do? We're going to watch TikTok videos. We're going to send them to our friends, our, partners and our family, and we're going to watch them together, or, make sure they got that video, have a conversation about it. That kind of made us keep going, I would say, in a sense, because you kind of had a little bit of something to look forward to in that time.
Well, yes. And I guess this goes back to just people and who they are, but there were also a lot of people that were negatively affected by seeing all the crap that was on social media about how crazy COVID was, and hospitals that were overflowing and stuff, and people were losing their freaking minds, and unfortunately COVID was, it fucked people up. But people were committing suicide because they thought that the world was ending and that there was no other way forward. So it's like, whether it's because they were locked in their houses or because they thought that they were all just going to die, but point is that probably comes back to just who that person is, right? So it's like, obviously, just going back to the bullying example, it's like you go back 15, 20 years and, before social media was a thing and when kids were bullied at school, it's not like they had another outlet. They either took it and went home and cried about it and just didn't have friends at school, or they were, they had a different mentality about things and they fought with the kids or they bullied them right back or whatever it was. So it's like, obviously different people have different reactions to stuff. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that social media, depending on who is being exposed to what, can be a good thing or can be a bad thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like I can see videos of people driving around in fancy cars and buying massive houses, and I can use that as inspiration, or I can take that and be depressed and say, well, shit, I'm not doing that. But
and a lot of people do feel that way for sure.
But see, and when we looked up those stats, right? So Forbes had published that article, but they cited reviews.org, whatever, that had reviewed the data, and 50%, half of the freaking people on social media said that they felt that exposure to social media was negatively impacting their mental health.
I can definitely see that.
But half, that's crazy.
Comparison.
But
expectations.
Well, yeah, but like at the same time, and it's funny, the stat that 35% of people compare themselves to other people on social media. But it's like, I get that, but at the same time, people need to live their own lives and not be so hung up on what everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's I think one of the negative effects that we got. You go back prior to social media being a thing, and you were well, I mean, maybe it's a good, maybe it's a bad. I guess it depends on how you look at it. But you look at, like, back then, you had your bubble, you had your circle of people, you had the town you lived in, however small or big that may have been, and what you got out of it was, well, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I know, this is what's normal, this is what's not, based on where you lived. But now you have somebody that lives in like a tiny little town of a couple hundred people that's trying to compare themselves to people that live in LA or freaking
New York or
Miami or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's like, obviously that you're not going to compare. You don't have that same life.
They say comparison is a thief of joy. So that's why I feel like a lot of people were negatively impacted by social media. But on the other end, you can also look at it as a lot of people who didn't really have an outlet to make as much money as they have now really utilize social media to be able to do that.
Yeah. Obviously that's a whole different topic, but, yeah, there's a lot of money to be made out there. I think, I mean, just really quick, just to kind of go back to the point though, there's that comparison thing, right? And like, you have a lot of people who are, people compare themselves to other people anyway, right? But it's the thing of it is that you're now exposed to things that you would have never been normally exposed to had you not been on the internet, had you not been connected to the world. So whether you're talking about, like, okay, for example, we as Americans, because of social media, now know that like the French get 3 weeks of freaking paid vacation as a minimum.
Yeah, because
like,
if you didn't specifically research that was never going to pop up anywhere.
But it would have, but it pops up on social media.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
my point. So it's like we would have never known about that as Americans, and we would have just been happy with our, whatever 1 week, 2 weeks of paid vacation that our employers gave us, thinking like, oh wow, look how generous my company is. But then you all of a sudden are hit with this, where you're like, well, damn, like we're getting screwed over here.
Or even healthcare in other countries.
Exactly.
We see firsthand what they have versus what the U.S. has, and it's vastly different.
And we're supposedly like we're supposed to be the leader in everything, which I think COVID opened a lot of people's eyes. COVID was the one thing where, because of social media, we saw how differently things were being handled in different countries. And I think that kind of opened our eyes to like, we definitely don't have the healthcare infrastructure that we once think that we did, or at least that I once think that we did. Like I thought we were equipped to handle anything. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, 20 people got sick and are in the ICU. This hospital is full. And now we got to send people to other hospitals. It's like, I understand you can't have thousands and thousands of beds in a hospital, but we should be maybe at the federal level better equipped to set up little tent hospitals with the, with the freaking, with the National Guard or something, just so that we can actually take care of our sick. But
you know what I think it is? I think a lot of times we aren't prepared for it unless we have to be. And that's really not the way to do things. I think we should always be thinking ahead.
Well, but I think that's also a very American thing. Like Americans are very reactive. You see it with like spending bills or even just people's normal budget. It's like everybody's thinking about what can we afford. And again, this is at every level. This goes all the way up through the federal government, through state governments, city governments. What can we afford today and for the next 6 months, knowing damn well that whatever they're going to do in terms of budget or spending is going to adversely affect them, down the line. But it's like, oh, well, we'll just deal with whatever happens 6 months from now.
Exactly. We'll just wait until something happens and then we'll figure it out.
But that's my point. It's always reactive. There's never any like preparation to say, hey, we need to be prepared for this. Like, so for example, going back to COVID, like, and I don't want this to be a whole COVID thing, but it's like, this is the stuff that we saw because of social media. It's like, we watched China build a hospital inside of a week on dirt. It was literally dirt. There was nothing there. We can't fix
roads out here in a month, in 2 months, in a year. But we have freeways here that have been under construction for years.
But the fact is that, like, we do have, now that we do have social media, now that we do have this, like, this whole network where we can get on there and we can see what other countries are doing. We as Americans, and mostly the government, because obviously who's in charge of all the freaking tax money that's being spent, but we as Americans, as the American government, should be embarrassed of the way other countries are handling stuff, because it's like there's no longer an excuse of, well, this is the way we do things and nobody else can do it, because that might have flown 40, 50 years ago, where the only things that we would see were published on, in a newspaper or on TV. But now it's like it's out there for everybody to see. Like you can't deny what kind of things are going on in other countries, whether we're talking about their healthcare system, their job markets, their government, the way things are handled, whatever it is. It's like there's no longer that control of the flow of information, because now it's just out there for everybody to see and to find as they want to.
To kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, absolutely agree. I think that we as a country are so prideful that we always think that what we're doing is the right way. And we don't look at how other countries are positively impacting their communities and how that would work for us at the end of the day. And with social media, we see that. We see what other countries are going through. We see how, if they have any positive news coming out or if they have any negative news coming out, we are now seeing all of that.
Well, and absolutely. But at the same time, you would think, but apparently that's not the case. You would think that us seeing all this stuff through social media, you would think that this would actually be like, you think it would be an eye opener. You'd think that we could actually, no, but genuinely, you would think that this would be an eye opener and that you could actually.
You would think, absolutely, you would think.
We would have some progress being made. Like we as Americans would start demanding a little bit more.
Especially
from
in
our
the
leaders.
last 4 to 5 years, right?
Exactly.
Don't you think we would be asking for something at this point?
Well, and that's the thing is, it's like I don't think we're asking for much. I think we're just asking for we as the United States, who's supposed to be
the greatest country in the world.
And I say supposed to. I'm not bagging on the United States. Obviously, there are countries that are much worse off. Their governments are complete fucking shit. Their people are starving in the streets. Yeah.
No, but take the
positives,
take the good of what other countries are doing and apply it in a certain way here.
Like we have, so for example, we see videos from, not to bring up a sensitive subject, but like we see videos from Israel fiercely defending their land. You know what I mean? But it's like we as Americans just let people pour over the border by the thousands with nobody even vetting them.
And we would not be seeing this without social media.
But the point is that we should be letting social media be the champion for change for the better, since we are now exposed to all this stuff, since we are now like, hey, wait a minute, China built a hospital inside of a week on a piece of dirt that had nothing on it. Instead, we're just like, well, that's China. This is us. We're just not equipped for it. It's like we should not accept defeat like that.
And imagine we're inundated with this information on a daily basis, right? And we, as a nation, even across the world, we are on social media every day. Every day for an average of over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Every day of your life.
Well, it's closer to 2.5.
But is spent over 2 hours using social media.
And so the funny part is like when you really break that down, that average is, and we should have actually looked this up, but the average of the total population, right? Like we're talking about everybody. Obviously, a 40-something-year-old that has a job and children to take care of or whatever is spending a lot less time on social media than a 17-year-old. So I can only imagine how much time that 17-year-old is spending to skew the average. Like we're probably talking about an hour or so for somebody in their 30s or 40s, maybe an hour and a half. But then you're talking about like 17-year-olds that are probably 4 hours a day on social media.
You're saying an hour, but when people go on TikTok, they're on there for hours.
That's true. I'm on there for hours. So I
For
can't-
hours at a time. A lot of the TikToks that I
Yeah,
see
definitely.
are folks that are, in bed at night watching TikToks before they go to sleep. And then 3 hours later, they're like, wait, it's 2:00 in the morning and I'm still on TikTok.
And it's absolutely
And
true.
how many times have you gotten that message on TikTok saying, hey, you should go to bed
should stop scrolling.
because we
They're
know it's late
I love that.
and you should go to sleep.
So here's the funny thing about that, though, is like TikTok knows damn well that
Yeah.
that video is not going to do any impact, but that's just their way
I honestly
of,
scroll past it at this point. I'm like, you know what? I'll just deal with this mess tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I'll be fine.
but that's their way of trying to cover their ass. And they're just like, hey, you know what? We tried. We told them not to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
be out here for so long.
Yeah.
We care about your mental health. No, they don't. They want to serve
I'm
you as
sure.
many ads as possible. That's all they care about. But like, it's funny because it's one of those things that you, even though you know it, and even though you know how much time you're wasting daily on social media, you're just
Can't
like,
help it.
well, and that's the thing is it's the addictive nature
Mm-hmm.
of it. Like, so there's nothing, it's like there's everything that you want to see is put in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
right? These algorithms are literally designed to show you more of what you want to see, which is great for somebody that wants to see freaking puppies and educational stuff, right? Like, but then it sucks for people that are maybe depressed or somebody that's like into some weird like freaking extremist activities or like some kind of like borderline freaking dangerous stuff, right? You don't want to keep showing that person stuff like that. Like, you don't want somebody to be, I don't know, if some guy's thinking about starting his militia and all of a sudden he's getting ads for land in the middle of Colorado that he can use as his compound. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to encourage that.
Yeah.
But the way the algorithm's designed, that's literally what it's going to show him. So
I
it's
don't
like-
care what anyone says. It will hear you.
Oh, absolutely.
There's been so many
no
times
doubt. There's no doubt
where
about
I'd
that.
randomly Google something or we'd be talking about something and
There's no doubt.
TikTok will be like, hey, do you want to buy a golden doodle? Yes, I want to buy a golden doodle, but can
Like,
I? No.
I've seen, so the funny thing is though, is I've seen that like firsthand with so many different topics. Like I've seen it with,
Or, hey, do I have COVID? Let me search if I have COVID or let me search if I have some kind of weird disease on Google because, we Google all that shit. Don't tell me otherwise. And you'll get random videos on TikTok saying, hey, are you having a heart attack? What to do in case you're having a heart attack? What to do if you're having a really bad headache? And you're like, wait.
but see, that's the crazy part is there's been so much debate about that, like whether or not your phones are listening to you. And I personally don't know anybody that's read through the 96 pages of freaking terms and conditions, but I'd imagine they probably buried something in there
I'm
because
sure because that's too convenient. Like,
I literally
That-
was talking to somebody about getting a pilot's license one day, and all of a sudden, the first time in ever on TikTok, I opened it literally later that night, and I got an ad for a pilot, like for
Yeah.
pilot training. I'm like,
absolutely. Don't you remember last year when we went to Spain and we were talking about what to do in Spain and we got all these TikTok videos of what to do in Barcelona, what to do in Ibiza, go
It's
here,
sta-
go there, eat here, do that.
But see, it's funny because it starts with one, so you don't realize it. Like you get one little video, and you could either scroll past it and not even think anything of it, or you can sit there and watch the video because it's something you're actually interested in.
And then the longer you watch, the more of those videos that
And then
you'll
all of a
start
sudden,
getting.
that's all you're getting. It's like, obviously, that's the design of the algorithm. They want to keep you watching.
Same thing with Instagram. When
I'm
Instagram,
sure Facebook, I'm sure is the
yeah,
same. It's all the same.
Instagram. You can watch reels now on Instagram, and they it's like the same algorithm where if you watch something, it'll just keep giving the same kind of videos. But I've realized that on Instagram the videos are a lot shorter, and they're not. You can't. I don't know if you can or not, but there aren't any 10-minute videos on Instagram.
There's probably a way to do it. I just don't think that. Well, and see, that's a funny thing too. Is like even on TikTok, that whole 10-minute videos thing. It's like, don't try to compete with YouTube because that's a
Yeah.
whole different. That's a whole different platform, and the people that are on TikTok are very, very like short attention span people.
For
like,
sure.
If a video takes more than 6 seconds for the setup, I'm gone. Like I'm on to the next thing.
A little longer for me, but
I mean, but it just depends. Like obviously, you gotta get your. I mean, that's the whole point.
or like if a video is like wait till the end, I'm like, I can just forward this and I'll just
See, and that's probably
find out what it is. And
that was probably the most convenient
Yeah.
feature that they added, is being
Yeah.
able to just forward to the end.
but do you realize that our impatience has grown these past 4 or 5
Oh,
years
absolutely.
after COVID?
Because
You know,
of because of TikTok
we're
and
not,
because of
we're not
Instagram
patient,
and because
like how
well,
we used to be, at least for me.
it's been getting worse and worse every year, but we are definitely the generation of like instant gratification.
Oh yeah.
We don't, as a people, we no longer have the patience for anything. It's like, if a light takes too long, people are just screaming and honking. It's like there's just no more patience. And yeah, obviously that instant gratification of, you can order something on Amazon at 3
Have it the
p.m.
next
and
day.
well, not even. I've ordered stuff at 3 p.m. and gotten it by 8 o'clock that same evening. I don't even know how that's possible, but they do it. And then stuff like that, or the 30-second TikTok videos where within 30 seconds you get an entire story, or you're laughing or whatever. It's like, everything is very much get to the point. There's no more you have to wait, or this is why people don't read books anymore, because it just takes too long.
Yeah.
People are not,
Like, get to the point. I just need to see what's going on.
but isn't it, I mean, that, who knows, that could be part of the design, is that we probably don't realize it, but we're so busy in life now because of work and traffic and whatever that you got to do, that we just don't have time for anything else. And so it's kind of like maybe the social media just caught up to the fact that we just don't have time for anything else. It's like, not that many people have time to sit around and watch a 36-minute YouTube video that's instructional on something, where they can just,
they're so tired from the day, they don't want to concentrate on anything else. They just want something fun
exactly,
to watch,
something
and
cool and quick and yeah,
exactly.
But that's my point, is I think I don't think it's TikTok that ruined us. I think it's just life in the United States that drove us to platforms like TikTok.
Yeah.
Where things are quick, things are, Instagram's the same way, Facebook. I don't, this funny thing is, I don't even use Facebook anymore. I don't even know why I have an account, but as far as I remember, Facebook was mostly just pictures and.
So let me tell you, I've had Facebook for a long time.
I had a Facebook account in
And-
like the early 2000s. I
Yeah.
just never used it.
Yeah, and I still use it, but you know what I mainly use it for? I use it to store photos. I
mean,
use
it's-
it to upload photos into my albums on Facebook, just like as like a backup.
Yeah, but I mean, there's probably a
Better way to
whole
do it, but
internet security like
sure.
risk there. But sure, I mean,
tell anyone.
it's not like you're uploading private photos of yourself.
But the funny thing is, you upload. Many of us upload photos, videos, whatever it is, on IG or Facebook, and we, on average, check our phones almost 160 times a day. That is staggering. That's a lot of times to check your phone. And on top of that, I feel like we check our phones more when we post something, right? If I post a photo on Instagram, I go back to it 2 minutes later to see if I have any likes.
well, I don't even post anything, so
You
that's,
know, it's
I
like-
guess that's my advantage there. But
Yeah.
no, I could definitely see that. But then also, I think it just kind of, it's become like an idle habit. Like if you're just bored and you're sitting there watching a show or something on TV, like you'll just check your phone just to see, hey, did I get any new emails? Did somebody text me?
Yeah, but
Did-
here's also
it's
the
like,
thing. I don't know if anyone else does this, but when, obviously I watch some of the stories that are on Instagram, but a lot of times I'll just scroll through it just so I don't have anything new that's popping up. Just to
get rid of the notifications.
Just to get rid of that
I do that with my
notification.
emails. I can't do email.
Not that I don't
notifications.
care, but it's like I don't
Have
know.
you
I don't find the need to like check everything.
Have you seen these psychopaths that'll have like 17,000 unread emails?
No, absolutely not.
I'm like,
Absolutely
at
not.
that point, just delete the fucking account.
No,
like
there's no way.
there's no point.
There's no way. I could not.
I don't. I mean,
How do people live?
my mom's like
that?
that. My mom
could
has
never.
thousands of emails. The last time I saw my mom's phone, it was like, I can't remember how many thousands, but I literally just selected all and hit delete because it was bothering me too much. I'm like, you just have no spam filter. You have you just have a bunch of random like ad friggin' spam emails just sitting in your inbox unread. I can't do it. I get 2 emails and I got to go in there and I got to either read them, address them, or
delete them,
or whatever.
I
it
think
is.
I check my personal email maybe 3 times a day to delete all the junk
Oh no,
that
that's
I've been getting.
my personal email. I check constantly. I don't know why.
I don't check that
I don't-
constantly,
I'm
but
not
like
even-
I'll check in the morning and then I'll check like in the afternoon and at night just to make sure there aren't any emails in there, and to delete them because I get like 50 junk emails every day.
That's I
don't
think
know
everybody.
why.
That's probably
but-
because of social media too.
And it's like if like I'm like you where if it keeps gathering, that doesn't sit well with me. So I'll just rather just go and delete
Yeah.
it and just have a fresh inbox. But you ask me about my work email, completely
Well,
different story.
But that's also
Everything is read, but I will tell you I have hundreds and hundreds of emails in my inbox that I have to go through every day.
I just sort mine right away. The only emails that sit in my inbox at work are emails that are like pending items. Everything else either gets an answer and gets filed away or gets deleted, and not much gets deleted at work. To be honest with you, it's just, I've made it a habit to just keep everything.
I keep everything too, and I have folders.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
I put everything
I sort
in.
everything.
But there's a lot, there's my job is constant, so I can't just like check off that box and put it away. So,
Of course.
but not to deter from that conversation, but adding that on top of everything else, I can guarantee we check our phones, we check our emails.
I probably check my
social
phone
media,
like 400 times a day.
over
to be honest with you.
160 times
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
That average, I think, is also accounting for people in their 70s that check their phones twice a day.
Except if you're my dad. My dad still uses a flip phone, so
Yeah, but he probably checks it every so often because he probably
If
did I
he
miss a
hears
call?
it.
That's what I'm saying. Is he probably checks it like a couple times a day to make sure he didn't miss a call.
Yeah.
Or he just wants to see the time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
that's
like,
true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it crazy too? It's like people now, well, now maybe they're starting to buy smartwatches, but like people can't even tell time anymore
No.
without looking at their phone. Like I've literally seen people wearing luxury watches, and if you ask them the time, they'll take their phone out to look at it.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
That makes
to
zero
me.
sense to me. Like you have
How is looking at an actual clock a dying trend?
it's people can't tell time
that
anymore.
that
It's-
still boggles my mind because it's like I don't ever remember learning about it in school, but you just
I'm sure
learn
we
it.
did.
When we
I
were
think-
like really young, but
I think we did the same time we learned how to count like pennies and quarters and stuff. Like, like
Maybe.
when they had the little cutouts of like the little dimes and nickels.
Maybe.
And you'd have to figure out how much it was. I'm pretty sure right around that same time we were learning how to tell time. But
it's like, do they not?
here's the thing
Like-
is if you're gonna go out and you're gonna buy yourself like a freaking $20,000 Rolex,
At least know how to tell the time on it.
Like,
Look, I'm sorry.
it's
Even if
crazy.
you're going to buy yourself a $20 watch, know how to tell time. What is the point?
I don't care if you don't wear a watch. How do people not know how to tell
Yeah,
time?
I
Like
don't- I
that's
don't know.
insane.
I don't know.
It's crazy how little people actually use their brains these days. People have gotten to the point where they just want to, and I mean, I think it's only going to get worse.
Do you think
with
that's
AI.
attributed to social media though? Because we're just kind of like on this type of flat, like let's just watch and move on with our lives and not
Kind
really
of. I mean,
concentrate on anything.
To an extent, yeah. Everything's just kind of like this mindless going through the motions. But at the same time, I also think that it has something to do with just like, your phones and your, like, for example, everybody has a calculator on their phone. Most people can't subtract 17 from 40. Like it's like it's freaking crazy. Like I've seen the videos where they'll go and they'll ask people, and I would think they were staged. Other than the fact that it's not just one or two
Yeah.
or five people. It happens
Like
all
several
the
times.
freaking time. Where they'll ask people just like random general questions and people just don't know. Like it's insane. These are people that have graduated high school and are in college. I'm like, dude, like.
How did you get to where you are?
Like I that's
Good
a
for you,
whole-
honestly.
The education system is a whole different topic of
Yeah,
conversation,
that's for another day.
but like the fact is that I think social media does have some. So here's the thing. Obviously, this is only going to get worse with AI because like now it's like AI is literally the calculator for everything. So before, if you wanted to know, simple math, you plug it into the calculator. Now you're going to be able to just ask AI anything that you want.
Or ChatGPT where you basically tell it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You know, I want to write good, for example. And someone
I
says,
want to write
right.
good.
And then it'll come up with this like amazing, you know, paragraph of what you're trying to say that you can use instead of I want to write good.
Well, but here's the thing though, is even, so for example, and we're from the MySpace generation. So it's like, you go back to the MySpace
You're
generation.
telling everyone my age.
Yeah, my age too. It's okay. So you remember MySpace? How you actually had to learn a tiny bit of HTML to set up your page.
I remember that to
Right?
set up. You know, I had like Falling Hearts, the
Yeah.
music. Also, I think that's where my anxiety resonates from. The top 8, if anyone remembers.
Oh,
And, like,
the topic. I didn't
moving
really care.
people around when they've
Yeah.
like wronged you in some way.
I didn't care. The only time I moved anybody is if somebody said, "Hey, how come I'm not your like?"
Or they ask
Number
you, hey, I
one
thought
or
I would be your
whatever.
number 1 or number 2.
And I'll just
Why
move
am I
them
number
there.
2? And I'm like,
I would literally just
know.
move them there. So the funny thing is I've had people say, "Hey, like, how come I'm not your number 1?" And I'm like, "All right, whatever. You'll be my number 1."
And then you'll have the other
And
person.
my former number 1 would be like, "Hey, how come you moved me
How
down?"
come-
I'm like, "Well,
exactly.
because this guy wanted to be my number 1, or this girl, or whoever it was."
But
But
you
it's
know
like,
what? MySpace was incredible. You know why? Because every single time there would be some kind of shift in my life, I'd put the music to match that, and people would just know.
it's just it
what my mood
gets all
was.
moody and
Yeah.
dark and like
Evanescence, you know, like
Yeah.
things like that, and they would just know.
yeah. Well, and that was a thing though. Is that was like you're coming off the heels of LiveJournal, where literally that's what social media was at the time, was let me express my thoughts to the internet, or to at least the people that follow me
Yeah.
or like my page or whatever it was. But it's so the point I was trying to make. I almost forgot. The point I was trying to make is like back then you had to learn HTML to a certain extent just to be able to do like whatever cool colors you wanted, freaking effects and your music and stuff. So you would go online and you would start searching and you would start like practicing because you wouldn't get it right the first time. It's like it's coding. I mean, it's basic, but it's coding. So it's like we didn't all know how to do that stuff.
I'd have to search. I'd have
But,
to like
yeah,
Google things.
yeah, I'd
You
have
know
to
how
search, like-
change what the code was for the color pink.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
what the code was for
code.
the
I was
color
about
blue.
to say the hex codes for the colors. Like nobody knew that stuff offhand. Like I still don't know that stuff. But the point is that you had to use your brain. You had to use a little bit of brain power to get to where you needed to
And
be.
then the pride I felt when I'm like, yeah, I know how to use HTML. I know how to code.
Well, and that's
I
the
don't
thing
know how
is
to do
like
shit.
we thought thought we actually knew how to do something. It's like it was so basic, but we still learned something.
Yeah, but you asked me to remember any of those codes. I
Well,
don't.
because you don't use it normally.
don't.
But my point is that if a similar situation arose today,
We'd learn how to use it. We'd learn how to do things to
we
be able to
wouldn't have
utilize
to,
that
though.
tool.
That's my point. Is we wouldn't have to. Is all you'd have to do is go and ask ChatGPT and say, "Hey, I want to
But-
set X, Y, and Z up. What's the HTML
But that's
code for that?"
generational. Always. But think about that. That's generational. Not a lot of people use ChatGPT yet. A lot of the
Well,
older people don't use ChatGPT.
I mean, but if I find that that's my easy way out, why wouldn't I? Why would I spend hours upon hours
there's
doing
a
that?
lot of people that would rather just research themselves and do it.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be
Because
the
maybe they
thing.
just don't believe in modern technology. I don't know. But there are people like that.
I don't know if that's going to remain the way things are, though. I think that's
I
going
think
to
with
change
our,
drastically.
I think with our generation, maybe the generation before us, maybe. But I think other generations might not find it as easy.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's one of those things that as it progresses, I think it's going to get easier.
Like
I don't think I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like like Siri or Alexa or whatever, but like just on steroids. Like right now, you could be like, "Hey Siri, what's the weather right now?" Right, and she'll tell you. But I feel like it'll get to the point where you could just be like, "Hey Siri, write me a freaking code, like write me a program that can do X, Y, and Z and interface with my car and send music to it or whatever the hell you want to do." And all of a sudden it's just there. It's ready because Siri was just fucking on steroids, just like tearing shit up and knowing how to do everything. When it gets to that point, it's going to be very accessible for everybody because now you're not even having to type in the prompts. You're just speaking to this thing.
so,
And it's everywhere.
one of the facts that we found was that 70% of the U.S. population does use social media. I'd be curious to find out what 30% doesn't use social media. The age range and the demographic.
My guess would be that 30% is probably people in nursing homes and babies that aren't allowed to. I honestly, maybe people that are just maybe the Amish. I think the Amish are even on social media now.
I don't know.
I'm sure of it. Like, I mean, it's like, I can't imagine. Well, and I guess that's the interesting. Maybe that's something to look up, is what percentage of the U.S. population makes up, the 0 to 5 age group, or the like 85 plus age group. I mean,
if any of those people use,
I'm sure it's probably not that big of a percentage, but it's probably like 10 or 15%. So that's half of your.
But you also
30.
have to consider there's a lot of actors and actresses who are 80, 85 years old who do use social media, who are on social media, and
they have teams
especially,
that do that.
I want to say probably in Los Angeles, they actively do that. I don't know what it's like in other states, but
again,
you see that a lot here.
You have teams of people that do that for you, but I mean, I'd still,
but they still use it.
Exactly. I'd still consider that somebody that uses social media. But like, it's interesting. It's weird to think that there's actually people out there that don't use social media at all. Like, it would really surprise me if I met somebody that was in their mid 30s or something that was just like, nope, I don't use any social media. Like, I refuse to use it. I'd be a little worried about that person, to be honest with you.
That's honestly a really big thing. You know what I've realized?
I feel like they're serial killers or something.
Speaking to, having some girlfriends who are single and who will, ask, hey, I'm interested in this person, but they don't have social media. Like, there must be something wrong with them. Like, why do they not have social media?
But see, here's the thing too, though, is I feel like those same people, they probably do have social media, but they just don't. They're lurkers. They don't publish anything. They don't post anything.
But that's creepy. This is a little creepy.
I mean, yeah, I would agree. I think it's very much like that's very like serial killer behavior.
Yeah.
For sure. But that's the thing, is like, you don't. I guess they still use social media, even though they're not posting anything. They still use it.
There's a lot of people like that who have like nothing on their Instagram, but they're there, and they're looking at your stories.
But I wonder, when the surveyors come around and they ask them, they're like, "Do you use social media?" They're probably like, "No, I don't," because they're not posting stuff, but they're still on there. They're still looking.
If you're
they're still
on
lurking.
there and you're looking, you're using social media.
Yeah, if you're on the site or on the app, that I would consider that using social media.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have an account. But if you're just looking at stuff that's on there, you're using it. That's
absolutely.
it. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I think that number is probably skewed. I think there's a lot of people that were surveyed of that, 30% that said, no, we don't use social media. I think they meant it like, we don't post on social media.
Maybe.
Like, I think they still use it to some extent.
Maybe.
But I mean, here's the thing is at the end of the day, it's kind of, and maybe I think we're probably already past that peak, or maybe it's just too late for us. I think social media is literally the future in terms of, just it. Well, in a lot of ways, but like in terms of making money online, that's probably the only way that really makes sense these days. Obviously, there's other ways.
Right.
You could be a freaking guru that coaches people on internet marketing, but it's so much more effort with so much less return. Like, whereas you can get on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, and you can literally publish a couple of posts that maybe have like an associate link or an affiliate link or whatever, and one of them goes viral, and all of a sudden you're making money just raining in for no reason whatsoever. It's like TikTok Shop. These people are making insane amounts of money, and it's because they made a stupid video about, like, I don't know, whatever
and it doesn't matter. It could be anything.
Yeah,
it could
exactly.
literally be
It's
anything.
like the viral pillow or some shit. Like, and it's like all of a sudden,
it could be nothing and get millions of views for no reason whatsoever.
I mean, there was at one point, I don't know if you remember this. I think I sent it to you on TikTok. There was a video that had like 5 million likes, and it was literally a bowl of chocolate covered strawberries.
Yeah, we saw that together.
All
that was it.
There was
I think
nothing
it was
else
actually
there.
more than that. I think it was hundreds of millions of views on that one.
But I was saying likes though. I think it was like 5 million.
And I remember us
watching
watching it and being like, why?
Exactly.
Why?
And I think that was the only thing that account had even posted. I don't even think there was anything else. But So my point is, it's like you could take, you can go and you can work a 9 to 5 and spend 8 hours of your day plus commute back and forth, whatever, to make your amount of money that you make at your job. Or you look at social media and you see people that literally make an entire annual salary inside of a month promoting a fucking
Skirt or
something like
some kind of household cleaner or something.
Or a freaking charging cable. Like, I'm like, dude, are you serious? These things,
Yeah.
I can't escape those stupid things with these charging cables and the stupid Magic John screen protectors. I'm like, stop already. I'm good. I don't
need this.
I don't have 14 phones where I need a bunch of charging cables. Like,
Options.
but like the funny thing is though, is it's a full on industry.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we looked this up. What was it? Global ad spend in 2024. Ad spend on social media, $243 billion in ads. Now we know that obviously those ads are designed to make money. So of that $243 billion that was spent on ads, we could be sure, I mean, at least 90 something percent sure that there was probably a 3-to-1 minimum return on ad spend, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like you're probably talking, and obviously some of those ads probably fucking knocked it out of the park, and they probably spent a couple $1,000s and made $100K off of it. So I'd be confident in saying that, and I'm not looking up the numbers, so somebody's gonna, obviously one of our 2 listeners is gonna sit there and be like, well, no, you're full of shit, I looked it up. Well, I don't care. But there's probably easily $1 trillion of revenue off of just the ads. Never mind, and we're not talking about anything else. We're not talking about just like, online shopping in general or anything like that. Obviously that number is crazy, but if $243 billion was spent on ads, then you could be damn sure that there was at least $1 trillion generated off those ads, whether you're talking about, promoting some kind of a TikTok shop product or a freaking course or whatever it is. There's a shit ton of money moving around on the internet. And all you literally have to do is position yourself correctly to just grab a hold of it as it flies past you.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a video I saw. It was funny. So this guy was basically like, if I could offer you a free lottery ticket, how many would you take? He's like, you'd probably take like a bunch of them, right? 20 of them, 50 of them a day, whatever it is. He's like, well, social media is basically a lottery ticket. Every video that you post on social media has the opportunity to go viral, and that could be your launch pad into like a whole social media career.
Yes.
And he's like, so why aren't you posting more videos? And I've thought about that. I'm like, that kind of makes sense, because you could literally post some stupid video about something that you think is
And it
mundane.
could just blow up.
Well, and that's the thing, is that you don't necessarily have to. That could be your daily life. Like maybe it's your job and it's a boring job to you, but there's somebody, or there's a lot of somebodies out there that find it fascinating because they've just never seen that kind of work being done before, and all of a sudden it fucking explodes, and now you're like, now you have a whole career just posting what you do, where you're earning money at your job but also earning money on the side through social media. It's like, it's crazy. I mean, I personally, I don't think I have the patience for it, nor do I do anything interesting enough.
Post, so that's the thing.
Well, and it's not just that. It's like, I don't do anything interesting enough. I mean, even what I do that is interesting,
But that doesn't matter. Like we said, it could be anything.
Yeah, but I do nothing outside of my job. That's my problem. Other than, I guess we could hang a couple cameras like on a night of drinking with our friends. That would probably get a lot of views because shit gets a little sloppy. And also, I think just our friends just drink ungodly amounts, and that would be interesting to see. But it's like, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe there is something interesting about it, and we just don't think. Like I just said,
you know how many videos I watch on TikTok of people just cleaning their house? It's just satisfying. I don't know what it is, but it could just be things like that. You think it's really nothing, but a lot of people enjoy that.
Yeah, but could you make a whole career out of it?
You can.
I mean, maybe
there are tons of verified people who do just that on TikTok, and who make a ton of money doing it.
It's probably worth a shot. You're right. I mean, realistically, we could probably just video record, make a video podcast as well. But considering this setup, I don't think that. Well, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it would get popular. It's like, look at this basic setup that you got going on, literally in your living room with a fucking board, with your stats on it, and a 12-year-old refurbished computer that you're recording on.
More to come. More to come for sure.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, I think I'm good. Do you have anything else to add?
For next time?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what we'll talk about next time. But yeah, that was. I mean, I just wanted to touch on that because it was just. It's obviously it's part of daily life. It's like you can't escape it.
You can't. It's going to be around. If not,
yeah, it's never going away.
Use more so in the future as well. So it's just the beginning.
Well, anyway, until next time, I guess. Have a good one.
Au revoir.
Enjoy. Thanks for our 2 listeners. Hopefully next time it's 3.